Hi there, ladies, and welcome back to another episode of Orgasmic Relationships. I am your host, Sharika Matthews, life coach and relationship expert. So I must admit, I am really excited about today's episode because I have been dying to talk to someone about these documentaries that Netflix has been putting out. First, it was the Tinder Swindler, and then it was Bad Vegan. And both of these documentaries are focused on successful women who have fallen victim to manipulation and fraud by someone that they met online. And with online dating being so popular right now, I think we need to have a conversation about online dating, how to recognize manipulation, and how to protect yourself while you're online dating. And to help me have this conversation, I have invited DJ Robinson, life coach, emotional intelligence practitioner, and the creator of Playing for Keeps, a dating app dedicated to helping people create deeper relationships with themselves and with others. Hi, DJ. How are you? Welcome.
I am good. Thank you for the introduction. How are you today?
I am well. I am excited, and I cannot wait to get into this conversation, ma'am. So, you recently watched The Tinder Swindler, right?
Yes.
Tell me, what are your initial thoughts?
So my initial thoughts were definitely like everybody else's, wow. But then as I reflected even more on just the documentary, not to that scale, but I definitely could relate to some of the women. Yeah. But overall though, it was wow. How much money they got scammed out of. All of it. It was crazy.
And I'm one of those people, when I watch a show, if it works my nerves at a certain point, I'll get up and walk away. And
I did that too.
It worked my whole nerve. I was like, Lord have mercy. And what's funny is I was here at my computer at first watching. I think I was watching on the weekend or something like that. So I was here at my computer watching it. I was like, this is some BS here. I done got up. I done went and talked to, he was my fiance at the time, but my husband. I was like, this stuff don't make no kind of sense. Like, what is really going on? He's like, what are you talking about? So I made him sit down and watch it with me. He's like, what the hell? But, it's funny because in all seriousness, when you hear stories like that, it is so easy to judge. It is so easy to say, oh, that would never happen to me. But I think on some level, most of us have been manipulated, maybe not to the extent of giving people thousands and hundreds of thousands and millions of dollars to support their lifestyle. But I can be the first to admit, I let somebody drive my car before, and he wasn't even in a committed relationship with me.
I mean, and even me, like, I can admit that, while dealing with a guy, I would help with giving money, not to that amount, but giving money and helping and stuff like that. And it ended up biting me in the butt later. And, you take those lessons and you apply it to the next relationship or whoever you're dating. So there was a lot of red flags though, straight from the beginning.
Yeah. And it's funny because, like, one thing that my husband tells me all the time is that I ask a lot of questions, and I really do. And I think that may have been my personal saving grace from not being manipulated to that extent, because I'll help you out once, maybe even twice. But come that third time, sir, I need an explanation. I got questions.
And that's good that you're like that. I think there's so many people are afraid, just getting down to the deeper level. So many people are afraid of being abandoned or rejected, especially when he love bombed them basically at first. And then all of a sudden now he's having all of these issues and you want to be accepted by this quote unquote billionaire. And it's like, okay, he's painted a picture where it looks like he's in trouble. If I ask certain questions, will I be will he leave me alone and I won't be able to get the initial things that I've gotten and all of that stuff. But it's really being able to look through the smokes and mirrors and not care about that stuff, which can be tough for some people.
Right. Especially as we get older, what I've seen is especially women in their 40s and maybe even 50s who are single and want to date, they want to date men who are successful, who have the perception of success. And then on the other side of it, and I hate to say this out loud, but a lot of women, especially in our 40s and 50s, are desperate for a relationship. We're desperate for marriage because either we have been single for so long, or we used to be married. We know what it's like to be married, and we desire that closeness, that companionship, that loving relationship again. And so we tend to either lower our standards, like you said, ignore the red flags, and do things we wouldn't normally do if we were grounded and had a healthy sense of ourselves and a healthy sense of reality. What do you think?
Totally agree. And kind of even for, I can talk about my age group. Like I'm in like the, mid to low to mid 30s or whatever. And the time clock is ticking or whatever. So for us, we're trying to find that perfect person too. And we'll either lower our standards or we don't have standards. A lot of women don't even have the correct standards. And that's where, coaches come in, because people don't understand sometimes their upbringing will cause like why they don't ask the right questions while they're dating, or when you're swiping through profiles, why you're not looking for those red flags. Like, would you really if you really think about it, like Prince of Diamonds, like, would you really, like, if you're in your right mind, would you really swipe right on somebody who claims they're like the Prince of Diamonds? Like, that sounds like an arrogant airhead to me. Right. I don't know if I would want to, that's just me. Or even like you was just bringing up, like, I'm going to ask questions. A lot of women don't ask a lot of questions, again, due to not wanting to be abandoned. Or if I ask too many questions, he's going to stop talking to me. And so how do we heal those parts too? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
To help with dating.
And I think we heal those parts by learning to accept rejection as redirection. When we reframe that rejection from something personal that's attacking us to something that God is doing to put us on the next best path for ourselves, then it doesn't become so scary. Right? Because when we, so I remember dating, and again, I've always been this inquisitive person. And sometimes, especially when the guy was up to no good and I was asking questions, they would get so offended. It's like, why are you asking questions? They flip it around on you. Like, you don't trust me. You must be asking questions because you're doing wrong and all this stuff. And so that's part of that manipulation where the person switches the focus from them and then focus on you, and then start firing the accusations towards you. So now you're in defensive mode, you're emotional, and you've lost sight of what the conversation was really about.
True.
So, and I actually, I looked up this word manipulation because I wanted to really understand what it means. And it says manipulation is any attempt to sway someone's emotions to get them to act in a certain way. Isn't that's really accurate? Because going back to your point, when you said on Tinder and they put Prince of Diamonds, that's an emotional cue. Because first of all, how many Prince of Diamonds going to be on a $10 app or however much Tinder is?
None of them. Like, why would he want anybody that's not of their caliber? Most people that would be a Prince of Diamonds or really would have money wouldn't be on Tinder or any of the common dating apps. So
they would be on Matchmaker. They would hire a professional matchmaker.
Right.
But when they say Prince of Diamonds, that was an emotional trigger for a lot of women, because it's like, oh, he got money. He's successful. He could take me out to what's the restaurant? Ruth Chris or Steak 48 or whatever our favorite restaurant is these days, right?
Right.
It's an emotional trigger for a lot of women because and I'm speaking from Sharika experience now, we have dated so many men who weren't financially in a position to date us the way that we desire to date.
That's true.
You know,
That's
after
true.
the third date, they're asking us to pay for all the dates. After the fifth date, they're asking us to help them with their car note. After the seventh date, they need a place to lay their head at night.
Right. Right. So I can get I can get why the flip and why you said that Prince of Diamonds would emotionally trigger a woman who probably have came from the other side, and then they see that and they're thinking maybe it would be an upgrade if they did swipe right. Because now I'm thinking of it maybe, and I would have a conversation with the person just to see where their head was at, or
Right.
for entertainment. I probably would.
Yeah,
Probably.
I would swipe on them too because I'm like, okay, I'm curious about this person. I would still ask a million and one questions, but I want to know, why are you on this dating app, sir? Like, literally, if you are truly the Prince of Diamonds, if you are truly an heir to a diamond empire, sir, I'm gonna need you to be like in the show, like he was taking trips to Mykonos, he's on yachts and
Right.
stuff. You have a whole playground
Right.
of people who are, and I hate to, this is gonna sound real shallow, but you have a playground of supermodel type women. You have a whole playground of women who come from, you know, like, I don't want to say dynasties, but
Is it
so
kind of heirs?
well-to-do families,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So why are you?
Why would you be on a date now? Or is it like in the beginning of Tinder Swindler where she talked about the Cinderella story?
Yeah.
You know, and it's crazy how as an adult, like we're common sense wise, but we all have our inner child. And if you're somebody who fancies the Disney movies and you know one aspect of reality, but then there's that inner child that still craves some of the romantic stuff from those movies. So sometimes we will let our inner child take the driving wheel and we'll make decisions, and we end up doing some crazy ass shit. And I think that's what happened to the first girl. Like, because if she would have asked the questions that you mentioned, I think a lot of things would have blocked her from a lot of stuff. But you don't ask those questions because you see it in the Disney movies, so it's possible. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So yeah.
Yeah. No. No.
No.
No.
Well, my inner child just came out. I was like, well, maybe the rich guy will want the poor girl one day.
I mean,
I don't know.
And so I'm loving this conversation because, again, thinking about how we have evolved as women, right? Women, we're making more money. We have higher paying jobs. We have more demanding jobs. And there's a lot of questions, especially in social media world, about, are women too successful? Are women behaving too much like men? And I remember I had to be maybe late 20s. I had to be, late 20s or early 30s. I remember thinking that if I had to give advice to someone, a younger woman, I would tell them, don't buy a house too early. I will tell them, don't be too successful too early because you may turn away or intimidate other men.
Oh my!
See your face.
And it's sad because I'm like at that age bracket now, and that's kind of what I'm dealing with. Would I advise a younger person that? No, because of knowledge that I have now. But I'm in that age bracket, and I've had those issues, and the pickings are super slim for me because of just how society is and how men have been developed because of society. But I would like to hear more of your point to what you were about to say.
Yeah. And so I started lowering my standards. I started compromising my boundaries because that's what got me into a lot of the relationships I had before. Instead of waiting for the man who was emotionally, mentally, and financially in a position to be in a relationship, I would meet a nice guy and let the nice guy be enough. And this is not saying that nice men finish last, but you need something more than just niceness.
Right. I had to learn that myself. Like, I'm finally learning the balance between the guy that's a hot ass mess and then the
Mm-hmm.
guy that's a nice guy. Because I would get too bored with the nice guy because that's all he had. He just was a nice guy.
Yeah.
But then on the other spectrum, I would go way left field. And
Yeah.
like I said, I can relate to the girls on Tinder Swindler because I was always fixing a guy's mess that I was with,
Mm-hmm.
and it kept me preoccupied. But that's not healthy in no way, shape, or form. So now
Absolutely.
in my early 30s, I'm like coming into my own and really learning and being patient and waiting
Yeah.
as well. But I had those
Yeah.
same issues where I couldn't find somebody that was on my level due to the amount of money that I make and the career that I'm in. And then even like what I think about as far as business and where I want to be, like
Mm-hmm.
I had issues for the longest, like, and even now still have issues like finding guys that could relate to me and I could have conversations based around that. And I was told, well, you're being too masculine or you're being too this. And it's like, damn, how do I just pin down like my personality? Now I understand being
No.
more softer and being a little more, I can understand that, which I also am that too. So it's like, but
Mm-hmm.
do I have to dim down all of the other parts of me as well? You know what I'm
Absolutely not.
saying?
You are, and every woman, not just you, but every woman is a multifaceted human being. You have
Mm,
multiple sides to you. You are a businesswoman. You are a full-time worker. You are a soft woman. You can be multiple things at the same time. And you get to choose how you want to show up at any given moment in time because it's all still a reflection of you. And that is
right.
something I had to learn too. Is again, I'm only speaking from experience here because I've been online dating girl for God, it had to be like 10 years now, right?
Right.
And so I remember my last dating profile, I did not specifically put in my profile what I did for a living because I will often meet men when they found out what I did, I physically saw the dollar sign rolling in their eyes.
It's crazy. Right.
And so I was like, and when, on the question that says, what do you do for a living? I'm like, well, I'm in a position where where my work improves the lives of people. And I love what I do because I get to see the development of that from beginning to end. Very vague, but it's still true.
Definitely using that sentence moving forward. Okay.
And so I would write my profile in a way where it was intriguing, but not give you too much information. But if you paid attention to how I wrote my profile, you can see my character. You would
Mm.
see my wittiness. I like to make jokes. I'm a Marvel fan. However, I'm still a Batman fan because I still believe that Batman can beat up Superman on any given day and time, come hell or high water. That was in my profile.
Them be the best one.
I know, right?
They do.
Right. And so I learned to still just giving people direct information. Let me show you a part of myself through my writing. And I look for profiles that would reveal a part of themselves through their writing. Now, men communicate much differently than women,
They
right?
do.
And so I didn't find a lot of profiles that fit that description. But what I would do is look at the type of pictures they would show too. Like, what story are you telling? And so even when I help women build online profiles, tell a story. You want to tell stories through your pictures, tell stories through your words. And if I saw a profile where all they doing was flashing cash or maybe in a more subtle way, flash like how much money they make, like they're always taking pictures in front of Porsches or taking pictures in front of Bentleys or
Yeah.
something like that. I'm like, there's got to be more to you. Right. And so
Right.
those are the type of things I would look for. And I would swipe right on somebody out of curiosity. I'm like, okay, this has got to be good. Like, I'm just going to see where this
Yes.
conversation go. But
Right.
you ain't getting my number. We ain't going out. Yeah, we ain't got time for the bullshit right now.
Right.
But
So,
go ahead.
no, you keep going. I know I was just gonna say I've just learned. It's crazy. I've developed a dating app and stuff, but I've just learned to really start paying attention to that stuff and how important it is so you can find a match. Because I think a lot of people, what they do, they get on dating apps and they're only really looking at the face. They're not really paying attention to the person's pictures, how it how they try to show their lifestyle or what you see in the pictures. And I don't think people don't seem to like to read anymore. But I know I've gotten more into, like you just said, trying to build my profile. And also, if someone does ask me, that's something I would suggest to people. Like, really look for people who show some type of personality, not somebody who's giving away everything, but somebody who gives something, that could lead deeper into a conversation once you message them.
Yeah, absolutely. And then what we get caught up in is looking for signs of success. And I think that's how the Tinder swindler was able to get in with so many people so quickly, is that you're looking for someone who is successful or who is on the path to success and can build with you. And so, he has $1 million smile, and I am a sucker for smiles now. That was my weakness. But but if he's always showing and he's saying the right words that tell you he's successful, we are like gung ho. Well, okay, I can't let this man go. No one else this successful is going to be that interested in me. And like you were saying earlier, it can come from past experiences,
right?
Because I'm transparent on the podcast, you guys. I tell all my business. So I remember I was in my early 30s. I had met a guy. I thought we were on the same level. He was an engineer. He was had an MBA, and he was working at some big name company. And we've gone out a few times, had a great connection, or so I thought. And then all of a sudden he ghosted me. I didn't hear from him anymore. And I was just so heartbroken, because after a series of meeting men who were not what I thought on my level mentally or emotionally or financially, I meet this guy. We seem to match on all levels, and he disappears. I'm like, okay, I'm not attractive enough for men who are on my level.
Oh my God.
That was my reason. And I was so heartbroken.
I feel that pain because
and that's the part of our heart. That's the part of our self-esteem that we really got to work on. And we really got to work out those muscles more, because someone's acceptance or rejection of you does not determine your worth or your value.
It doesn't. Majority of the time, most of the time when people are dating and choosing things, it could be nothing to do with looks or anything like that. Yeah. Maybe something with your personality didn't mesh with that person. But again, what did you say earlier? Any rejection is God's protection.
Yeah.
You probably would have kept going because you were this great person and was, in the same field and blah, blah, blah. But say if you guys would have continued, could have been a disaster. Like the skeletons he probably had, he probably didn't share, and probably just see this ray of sunshine in you. I was like, I'm gonna ruin this girl's life, and probably moved on. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
I had to learn. I thank God for those type of men, because I've had my own experiences like that and would be so heartbroken. But then later on down the line, say if you kind of running the same circles with them person, or you might know somebody, you find out other things through them, and it's like, you know what? Thank you, God.
Yep.
For real. Sometimes it be like that.
Yep. Girl, how about my best friend? She ran into him. Girl, this had to be like months later, if not like a year later. She cornered him at a house party. I was like, what are you doing?
Oh, shoot.
Didn't you date my friend? Why did you just ghost her like that? I need an explanation. I'm like, I don't need an explanation. I need an explanation. So, I asked him anyway, and he was like, well, I don't feel as if I needed to give her an explanation. I was like, see right there? Thank you, Jesus. Thank you, God. Because he did not value me. He did not value the presence of someone else in his life.
That is that part right there. I don't think he would value anybody in that regards. Like, ghosting is so painful. Like, and I noticed too, like in Tinder swindler, I don't know, this is probably in my mind. Like, he was unavailable majority of the time. Like that's definitely a red flag, the inconsistency. And like I said before, for that, I know that's totally off topic for what you were talking about, but that just popped up in my head. Like, that's a good thing that he did that. He went ahead and just said
That was a blessing. That was a redirection. That was all of the above.
Right. Because
Okay.
you don't want nobody who can't communicate. You don't want
Exactly. I
anybody
mean,
like that.
and
Mm-mm.
sometimes it is hard telling people, I don't think we're a good fit. But and that was my line. You know, I don't like hurting anyone's feelings. I don't like doing anything to cause anyone pain. So even when I was dating and I figured out like this person's not a good fit, I would just tell them, I don't think we're a good fit. And most men would accept that. There's always that one who want to act crazy. Girl, he was
Yeah.
like, how you gonna break up with me over the phone? I'm like, sir, we're not even in a relationship. Like, I'm not breaking up. I'm just saying we hadn't even been on a date yet. He was insisting to come to my house.
Oh
And I don't
no.
let people come to my house on a first date. We go out and meet somewhere in public. But he was insisting on coming to my house, insisting on a lot of things that he was not respecting my boundaries. And so I told him, I don't think we're a good fit because I keep telling you this is a boundary I'm not ready to cross, and you want to cross it. Girl, he called me everything but a child of God. And I
I
hung
don't
up,
know
blocked
why
him.
these men are like that. It's so some of these men are crazy. Not all of them, as you know. You being
Plenty
married
of
and
good
all
men
that.
out there.
That's ugh. Some of these
But you
men
do
crazy.
have to filter out the ones who are toxic, the ones who are disrespectful, the ones who are manipulators. And that's why it's so important for us to, and this is, I kind of want to segue the conversation to this topic too, is protecting yourself while online dating so that you don't get caught up in manipulators, get caught up in liars, get caught up in all the people who want to use you. Because this is one thing I tell my clients all the time. Just because a liar or a manipulator or a user is attracted to you, it doesn't say anything about your character. Now, when you
Mm-mm.
start consistently letting them into your life and letting them into your heart, that is your sign that you need to do something differently.
Definitely.
But it's a numbers game for these men. Let me be real about that. They're just waiting on that one person to say yes. You don't have to be that one person.
Absolutely. That's definitely true. I know a lot of red flags. I said there was a lot of them in Tinder Swindler. The first one was the love bombing. Like,
Mm-hmm.
and then him, like, I think she liked him, and then automatically, he messaged her. Like
Yeah.
and then wanting to meet right away, which is cool. That's fine for some people.
Yeah.
I know they say that's a red flag I don't see that as a red flag meeting right away.
It
Me
depends.
personally, it depends. But
Yeah.
then literally not even like a couple of hours later, you're on a quote unquote jet with him. Why is he willing to spend all this money on you and he just met you? You know what I'm saying? So I think
Right.
really paying attention to love bombing. And then he went ghost for a while. After that
Yeah.
night, she didn't hear from him. The inconsistency, I think that's a
Right.
red flag. And
Right.
then all of a sudden she wrote him, I miss you. And I think that just let the gateway in for him to kind of just do what he wanted to do. And then he
Because
continued with the flower.
she got emotionally attached
She did.
after one date.
Date.
Let's not do that, ladies. Let
Right.
him earn your heart.
And I think too, like, if I don't know, me being in that situation, the coffee date would have been enough. Like, I don't know you from Adam. Why would I be? I don't know if you're gonna chop my legs off in this plant. I don't
Right?
know, or where you're gonna take me. Like, we know, I think that would have ended it right there. Like
Yeah.
my suspicions would have popped up. Like, no, we can meet when you come back or something like that. Let's stay in touch, and then from there you can gauge and test. Can this guy be consistent? If
Yeah.
he liked me enough that night to be willing to fly me out. Let's see how consistent he could be. It should carry over until he comes back.
Right.
Like
Right.
really testing those things and asking questions and stuff like that. But again, he seems like somebody with a lot of money and people don't want to lose out on that opportunity. So I guess just thinking back, I wouldn't know how to, because I know a lot of women, like they have their rose colored glasses on for men with
Mm.
money. Like thinking on that, especially when you're somebody who don't come from money or you're somebody who's dealt with guys who don't have it. Like I'm still, just me being totally transparent. For me, I'm still learning how to try to think of the right word. I'm still learning how not to get caught up, you could say, in that. What, I guess, even somebody, what advice would you give a 31-year-old on that? Like somebody who comes from having this, even to a point of taking care of certain people, a man or something like that, to now trying to find balance. And you might see somebody who says Prince of Diamonds on there. How do you lead somebody into to not falling for the hype, for just the money? Like,
it's hard not to do when you're not clear on the gateway. So you remember that movie called Meet the Fockers?
I've heard of it, but I haven't seen it.
Yeah. So this movie is like, I don't know, it has to be like 10 or 15 years old. There was like 3 or 4 movies in the series, but the gist of it was, let me make sure I get this right. I think somebody was married into the family, and the grandfather, the patriarch of the family, was very resistant to let that person in. And so what he described it as was these inner circles of trust. And you have to see yourself like that. Your heart is in the middle. And for me, there are like 3 circles of trust, or 3 circles of gateways you have to pass before you are allowed access to my heart.
Okay.
And you have to decide what those gateways look like for you. So when I'm just meeting you, you are all the way outside the circle of trust. I may like you. You may have money. You may look good, smell good, do all the things, got a gorgeous smile. You may have all of the above, but you're still outside of that circle of trust because you have not shown me your character yet. I need to see if you are actually intelligent. I need to see if you are trustworthy with the small things. Like if we say we're going to meet at the mall at 6 p.m., then are you showing up at 6:30, 5:45, or are you right at 6 o'clock? That's my first test. And I don't say you go out and play games with people, but you pay attention to how they show up for you.
Definitely.
And then once he passed that first test, now he's into the second outer circle. So now we've gone out on a couple of days. Yeah, he's trying to take me out to 5-star restaurant, a Michelin restaurant, out on his yacht and stuff. I don't trust you like that yet. I appreciate it, but guess what? I get to set the tone for the pace of my relationships. So I'm like, okay, we met at the mall first. You want to take me out on this yacht, or you want me to go on a road trip with you? I appreciate that, but I'm not quite comfortable yet. How about we go to a food truck festival? You know, it's summertime, the sun is out, the weather is like, let's do something casual and fun. Let's just talk. And in my mind, I want to see how you act around other people.
Absolutely.
So that's what I would tell people to do. You want to set up certain levels of trust or certain gateways that people have to pass before they get access to your heart and to your time like that.
Okay, I have another question. I'm sorry. I feel like I'm turning this into my podcast. I have another question for you, Sharika. Okay, so again, like I was saying before, when you have like childhood wounds and abandonment issues and stuff like that, how would you work with somebody who has those issues? Because with them, I think with those type of people, they let other people take the pace of the relationship. You have to, for you to end up on like a situation like in Tinder Swindler. Like you have no control. Like, how do you even teach somebody to have the courage to gain control? Like sometimes for me, I can speak for myself, probably 7 years ago, it would have been very hard for me to be like, hey, I want to go here instead of you coming to my house or me going to your house. Like, let's go here. And I think just, even though I wouldn't have admitted it 7 years ago, but of course, fear of like, okay, he's going to say no. And then it's in my face to make a decision. Do I drop this guy or do I keep going? Knowing I'm going to keep going and look crazy. So what would you say to somebody who has those issues? Because I think when we really peel back all of the layers, that's where it comes from. Because anybody who can, like you just named, take control of the situation, they wouldn't be in that situation.
Yeah. First thing you have to do is get used to giving yourself some grace. Forgive yourself from the times you did not honor yourself, because that's really all it is. When you feel as if you don't have the courage to say what you want and what you don't want for fear of rejection, you are abandoning yourself.
Oh, that's a
And
good
that's
one.
really what you're doing. And so you have to recognize what you're doing and then forgive yourself for that. Because you're just responding to what happened in your past, whether it was a past romantic relationship or a past how you were brought up. It's something you're responding to. And then the next thing I would do is let you write your own story. Because how you do one thing is how you do everything. So if you are abandoning yourself and not honoring yourself in the realm of dating, you're probably doing it in some other area. It probably is in your relationship with your parents. It's probably in your relationship with your siblings or your friends. It's probably in your relationship with people you work with.
Right.
How you do one thing is how you do everything. So where else is it showing up in your life? And then we work out a regimen on how to reclaim your power in one area at a time, just doing one step. So for example, let's say you're usually the one who say yes to everything your friends want to do. Like your friends want to go sky jumping. And you're like, yeah, no, I really don't want to do that. But I'll show up though. I'll be the camera. I'll be the picture person, right? I'll be the documentary person. But I would encourage you and say, is this something you really want to do? If it's not something you really want to do, if it's not something that brings you joy, if it's not something that brings you peace, I will encourage you to say no. No, thank you. I'll catch up with you next time. So putting into practice the little ways of saying no. And then it's not just saying no, it's saying, I don't want to do this today, but I know that you like adventure. How about we do kayaking, next week? Because this adventure is something I feel comfortable in doing. I think it's a win-win for both of us. So that's how I would get you slowly but surely comfortable in recognizing your power, getting comfortable in taking charge in different areas of your life, and then guide you through doing it in your relationships. Because even before you start dating, you have to have in your mind what you will do and what you want to do. So for example, I already know if you ain't my man, if we ain't talking about marriage, you ain't getting money out of me. I might take you out on a date because I do like treating somebody every once in a while, but I'm not going to write you a check for $500.
Yeah.
I'm not going to go to ATM and put gas in your car. And that's one of the things that gets you in relationships or dating situationships that's not healthy for you. Because, and I may be going off on a tangent here, but oftentimes, especially us women who have strong personalities, who are really ambitious, we want men who are quote unquote leaders. But we don't allow them to be leaders because we want to be their Olivia Pope. We want to be their fixer.
Yeah.
We want to help them become the man that we think they should be instead of empowering them to be the best version of themselves. But I diverge.
That's a whole nother topic right there. Oh my God, I think a lot of people need to hear.
We might do another episode on that.
Yes.
That's a whole conversation, because I was that person. Because although I see myself as an ambitious, go-getter type of person, I have a heart for people. Yeah. I love people. And I would give almost anything to help somebody out. But I also found myself being a helpmate to a man who wasn't my husband. And I have to explain this to women who are caught up in that. You can only help somebody who's in the process of doing something.
That's a fact.
You see, we try to help somebody who ain't doing nothing, then get mad when there's no fruit to your labor. Well, hell, he ain't doing nothing.
Right.
He's right. You trying to help him get his degree or help him get a better job. Well, hell, he didn't even fill out the job application. But you push him, you doing it for him. You going to buy his clothes, you filling out the job application, you doing all the research because you're better at it. Yeah, you may be better at it, which is great. But when are you going to let him show you what he's made of? What he can do? And then ask him, how can I help you do something you're already doing? instead of us coming up and inserting ourselves into his life, inserting ourselves into the process without him inviting you into it.
And that's something I had to learn for myself. And I feel like even though it's totally on the other side of the spectrum, it's still kind of linked to the Tinder swindler, because even a woman like that could be swooned, because at the end of the day, if I know me, I have a heart for people, and if me having a heart for somebody, if I want what's best for them, maybe not to that degree, because I don't know how the hell I would be able to get money to that extent. Maybe that's the only reason why. But I would want to help that person that I so-called love. So, I feel like it all kind of relates. Yeah.
You make a good point, because many of us, especially women who are entrepreneurs and women who are ambitious women in our industry, some part of the reason why you're not at the level of financial success you desire to be, because God knows you will get swindled by somebody who's running away from a diamond prince or whatever the case is, because God knows you're going to give all your money away.
You know, I thought about that like literally 2 weeks ago, because I still, and this is me being totally transparent, I still have an ex who I would insert myself in and help and blah, blah, blah. But I've been scaling back now for years now, but we're still friends. And sometimes I wonder, like, okay, God, why am I not here in this space where I think I should be? And that thought literally popped up in my head, literally a couple weeks ago. You probably going to give up.
Listen to it. Trust your gut. You have an intuition that the people of the opposite sex do not have. Listen to it. Yeah. Because it will save you so much heartbreak. And here's the other thing too, especially for us women who are people pleasers, women who have big hearts. We are so afraid of cutting people off. Yeah. Let me tell you something. My block game is strong, girl. It is strong. I have a whole list of numbers in my phone that's under do not answer, DNA. And before the block feature became available on the phone, I started this years ago. Because I'm like, if we weren't good in a relationship, the reason we weren't good in a relationship because we weren't friends. And if we weren't friends in a relationship, we're not going to be friends after the relationship. And so when we break up, you go on block, you go on DNA. I have nothing to say to you. Now, there are very few. I can think of one person we are loosely friends. Like we speak once every 3 or 4 years. Like that we used to date 20 years ago. But no, but he found me like on Facebook or something, but he doesn't have my number. Gotcha. But I don't go back into the past. I don't try to maintain friendships with people who did not honor me. And when you go back and think about the core reasons why a relationship did not work out, there was either disrespect, there was dishonor, or that person or you did not value the other person.
I can definitely I can definitely agree with that. I can. And even with this particular ex that I am speaking of, there was, I'm going to say, not honoring me definitely during the relationship. It was after the fact. And some things that came after the fact, and we built some type of friendship. But again, he's still that person that just can't seem to get it right in life. And I'm also in that mode with him where it's kind of like I might have to put the block on. Yeah. Because I think it is taking me away from where I'm supposed to be. And I do feel like God distraction. I believe, yes. Ooh, yes.
It's a distraction. Once you recognize those distractions, and a distraction, I would say, is anything that takes your focus or your resources off the path that you are on. Because a distraction isn't just someone who's tall, dark, and handsome. A distraction is someone you meet on Match.com, or a distraction is someone you meet on Tinder who's asking you for $500 million, knowing that you should be starting up your business with that $500 million, but you're going to give it to him because he needed it really badly.
Right.
Let's not do that.
Yeah. I would say toxic, like looking out for toxic signs. For me, like I said, the first thing was the someone who puts Prince of Diamonds. Yeah, we probably would swipe right, but I would hope it would just be out of curiosity to see what his conversation is on and not believe if he starts going into how much money he has, really believe in it. Because to me, if you put something like that on it, it tells a little bit about your personality. Like you have, I can't even think of the word. I don't want to say narcissist, but
kind of arrogant.
Grandiose. Is that the word? Grandiose. Yeah. Like it's not exactly like you have those tendencies, and that's not anybody you want to deal with in a relationship. I think love bombing, like off vert, like you've only been talking for a couple weeks and he's sending flowers all the time and taking you out on jets and doing all this stuff and he barely knows you, that's definitely a red flag. And I love you and I miss you, even if he's not doing all of that. The simple, even down to the simplest forms, like guys who are like, I love you or I miss you. I remember I had one guy, he would constantly send me R&B YouTube songs, like blowing, like boom, boom. And I had to tell him, I feel like you're love bombing me. And he was like, what does that mean? I was like, Google it. And he was like, all right, I'll fall back. After he Googled it, all right, I'll fall back then. It's like, all right, you know what I'm saying? But then literally, I think 2 to 3 weeks later, I did something he didn't like, or I said something that he didn't like. I got the cussing of my life. Do you hear me?
Yeah.
But it definitely, but when I put that boundary down, it definitely showed, okay, he was just love bombing me, and it proved the point. So even though, say if you're somebody like me who has abandonment issues, push past that and don't be afraid to really set your boundaries and ask those questions, because it will then reveal true character. And it may hurt, but it's at the end, know that it's for your protection. So I would say from Tinder, Swindler, definitely those things. I'm sure there's more that you can add to it, but just at first glance, those are definitely the red flags like that came out for me as far as that.
Yeah. And the other thing, I'll add a few more to that. One is make sure you have a strong tribe of friends. You know, your tribe, it doesn't have to be like 20 different women or whatnot, but have at least 2 to 3 women, maybe even a man in there that you trust, that you can do the bullshit test with.
There you go. Yeah.
Does this sound right to you, that this guy who's supposedly the Prince of Diamonds and some people are threatening his life and he needs to escape? Like, does that sound right to you, mama? I'll be like, girl, what you talking about? You don't start watching these soap operas? No, this is real life. This is real life. This is happening right now.
Right, so they can help you.
Like, I think if some of these women had a strong enough tribe, and you talk about signs to watch out for. Look at yourself when this, because this is something I found myself doing. Usually when your bullshit meter is going off or your intuition is going off, we want to ignore it. When we ignore it, we stop talking about what's happening.
Right.
We don't tell our friends what we're going through. We don't talk to our mom or our dad or whoever our trusted advisor is about what we're doing. And when you start finding yourself answering generic questions, oh, girl, we fine. Oh, everything's going okay. Like, you're not actually talking to anybody about your relationship or your dating situation. That may be a sign that you're hiding because something you know is not right and it's happening. And you're ashamed. Let me tell you, shame will have a stronghold on you. You're ashamed.
That's the truth.
Of telling anybody because you feel as if you made too many mistakes in the past. You don't want this to be another mistake on your record.
See, that's deep. I didn't even think about that because I had a strength. Like, I don't even know if I would have went to my parents or trusted friends if I was in a particular situation like that because of the bad decisions I made in the past. That's so true.
Yeah,
that is true.
That shame will have a stronghold on you, and it will keep you in situations longer than what you intended to, even what God intended you to, because that shame keeps you in hiding. And the more you stay in hiding, the more that you're going to make decisions from a place of the shadows.
God,
you're not making decisions in the light, and the light is the truth. And there's this saying, our grandma used to say and stuff, tell the truth and shame the devil. That's what you need to do. if you're not talking about your relationship because you are afraid of what people may say about your relationship, that is a sign that something may not be right. Now, there's a difference between talking to everybody about your relationship and talking to the right person about your relationship. Because one thing I don't like about what's happening right now in society is that we've learned a new word. That new word is narcissism. And everybody's a narcissist now.
Right. Yeah, right. That's why I said I don't want to use the word because that, but yeah, that is the big word right now.
Right. And that it is true that there are a number of people who are undiagnosed narcissistic personality disorder. That is a true statement. Mm-hmm. And if we are really real with ourselves, most people have narcissistic tendencies. We have those little moments where it's about us. We have those little moments where we do want people to make decisions that will benefit us the most. We have those moments, but it doesn't mean that you're a narcissist or everyone is a narcissist. Right. But I have found myself at times not telling certain people in my friend circle about my relationship because I knew that they would respond from a place of hurt. They respond from a place of pain in their own lives, in their own situation, and not be able to speak to me from a place of wisdom and discernment.
Right.
So you have to be smart about who you choose to talk to. And you're not just always going to people for advice or whatnot, but it's just a bullshit test. Does it sound right to you? Should I give him $5 million on my bank account that's supposed to be for my retirement? Should I give him $500? Let's be real. Let's talk on our level because I got $5 million in my bank account. Not yet. It's coming.
Right.
It ain't there yet. Okay. Now, am I giving somebody $500? Probably not. Am I giving somebody $5,000? Hell no. We signed a contract.
That's a fact. Now, this day and age, yes, especially where I'm at now, we definitely signing a contract. I need to know when that's coming back, if I give it.
Right. So another story. So I was dating this guy and he needed a place to stay. Right. So I was like, okay, you and your son, y'all can move in with me. But I wanted him to sign a rent agreement. Girl, he got all kinds of indignant. He was like, why I got to sign a rental agreement? We in love. I was like, you in love. I like you. I like you. And we've been dating for a few months, but this is a young relationship. And I was in a place where I should not have been dating at that time. If I'm honest with myself, I should not have been dating at that time because there was too much chaos in my personal life that I could not see clearly in my love life. And this is another thing too. If you have too much chaos going on in your life, whether it's financial, whether it is in your business, if it's in your work, any kind of chaos that's going on, or if you're not in love with your life, if you don't wake up at least once a week and once a month to say, I really love my life, I am so grateful for where I am, and really mean that, you probably should not be dating because you got some more work you got to do. Because you want to bring somebody into your life at a good place.
You do, because if you don't, you'll end up turning to that person and looking for things that you feel they're supposed to feel, and that's not really how it's supposed to work. I think society is waking up from that, but we still have a lot of work to do around that. Absolutely.
Yeah. And so he was mad about that rental agreement. He was like, well, this ain't going to be real. I was like, no, it is a real agreement. So you agreed to pay X amount of dollars on this month, on this day of the month. And he signed it reluctantly, but he didn't keep up with it, which was another sign of the type of person he was for whatever reason. And here's another thing. There are so many clues here, girl. Another thing is meet his friends and have a conversation. And I would ask, if he comes to you consistently asking for some kind of financial help or whatever the case is, and he doesn't have any friends in his life that could support him, that's a red flag too.
That's a huge red flag. That's a recent lesson I had to learn from an ex. All his friends were of caliber that I know I don't want in a man. And, as much as people say, you got to look at the person as the person. That's true. You're supposed to, and you should. But most of the time, if they're spending a lot of time with a certain caliber of people, I trust and believe some of those tendencies are mixed in. And I bring that up because the caliber of people he was with, they were always needing money or trying to see what they can get out of a woman or trying to see what they can get out of somebody. And that ended up being that of him. Yeah, he wanted better and he had ideas of what he wanted with his life. So that kind of what got me to fall for like the potential, right? But there was nothing moving for real. And yeah, that's something I had to learn and really look at everything and not just certain parts like of what I wanted and make up in my head of what I thought he was or what I thought he could be and all of that stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. And even with the friendship, you want to make sure you want to ask yourself, because the people he may be around may actually be good people. They're not always like on the opposite end of the spectrum. But if they are refusing to help him, you may want to ask why. This was something I should have paid more attention to, because I asked the question, why don't you call your best friend and you go stay with your best friend until you find a place to stay? Or I should have asked the question, like, why would your sister not tell you she was breaking her lease to move out and you just found out at the last minute? Like, there was just some things there.
Oh, wow.
And
Gotcha.
A whole situation. But if I had been smarter, there was a reason why his friends would not let him come stay with him. He finally told me, he said, because of the situation with his son. And that whole situation brought additional chaos into my life. And at the end, I was like, so you thought it was okay to bring the chaos into my life? A woman, you just met a woman you claim to love, but you honored your friends enough to not bring that chaos into their lives. Something's not right. Because even the Tinder swindler, with him talking about, oh, somebody's chasing me, somebody is trying to kill me. Why would you bring that into my life? That's the first thing I asked, sir. You got somebody coming after you. Am I safe? If I'm not safe, I need you to get top like $10,000 away.
That would
in my life.
Right. And then your father is the king of diamonds. Your credit cards and stuff, you're on these missions or whatever, traveling for his business. Why can't your father? So these are questions that it's crazy. Like, but that's why I said again, it's so crazy how strong like some of these wounds can be, like that's wrapped around abandonment. Or you will not. And then, like I said, he put that facade on for all of them in the beginning. All of them, that he had this money and was stuff that these women probably have never seen before. So it's sad how those simple questions just kind of went over their heads. Like, that would have definitely been like, where's your father? Is his cards frozen too? Yeah, like I'm confused. Like, what is going on? Y'all don't, wouldn't you know something like this would happen? Y'all don't have extra money saved somewhere? You know, like,
But you gotta ask better questions, ask smarter questions. And if he gets offended by the questions or his answer don't pass the bullshit test, pull back. Here's the thing. Go ahead.
No, I'm listening to y'all. That's saying you have to
pull back, because go back to what I said earlier. Tell the truth and shame the devil. What that also means is tell yourself the truth. Stop making up a pretty story for a bullshit answer.
Right.
Because they may say, oh, I can't get to the money. It's going to take 3 days. And so we tell ourselves, okay, he does have the money. It's going to take him a while. Let me tell you something. I can go to my bank right now on a Sunday. I can call them up right now and say, I need to get $5,000 cash out of my account by Tuesday. And they will have it by Monday.
Right.
That's a normal bank. Okay? So I'm going to need you to come up. It doesn't pass the bullshit test. So we have to start telling ourselves the truth and be okay with leaning back. But again, to your point, we're so afraid of rejection. And this is why it's important to work with the coach, to work with a therapist before you start dating and while you date.
Absolutely.
Let me tell you something. I keep a therapist on tap, okay?
Right. Like, because
every coach needs a coach. Every therapist needs a therapist. I think every woman needs a coach and a therapist.
Agreed, because we can talk about red flags all day, right? But I really think it stems down to where we come from, how deeply does a person really want to connect with another person, and what are they willing to do that, and then why, and peeling back those layers. And that takes more than just looking at the red flags, because red flags could be glaring in somebody's face and it could look like a red flag to me and you, but it's a green flag to a person who honors the Cinderella Disney movies, because they feel that the rich man will like the poor girl, because in their minds, the rich man is looking for something deeper than what maybe another rich person can give him. You know what I'm saying? So it is coaching, therapy, having a group of friends. And that's another thing that's kind of sad, because in today's society, it seems like women don't want to connect with other women. I think it's so easy. I was one of those people too. Not saying I didn't want to connect with them, but I think for me, my personality is like super competitive. And I think for me, just this subliminally, I just felt better about myself. Like, I've always had one best friend, but she's in another state. And I never had that circle of friends where I can be like, hey, is this bullshit? You know what I'm saying? So I think that's a problem too. And trying to figure out how to knock down those barriers in society too, because a lot of women don't want to connect with other women. Women are too catty, and which is not always the case and not always true. You got to learn discernment. And when you don't trust other people, you're showing that you don't trust yourself.
Absolutely.
That's something I've learned.
Say that again, girl.
That's something I've learned too. So
yeah. And it's not just a sign you don't trust yourself. You don't trust the God that's in you.
Absolutely.
Because guess what? The Spirit of God lives in you. Your intuition lives in you. When you don't trust yourself, you don't trust that God is in you, leading you down the best pathway for your life. That's a whole nother conversation, honey.
That's a whole nother conversation. It is. But yeah, really doing the work, really working with somebody. And like I said, people don't realize that we have that inner child that's always going to be with us. That will take the steering wheel of your life. And we'll fuck some shit up. Trying to get certain needs met that they didn't get met early on, thinking that somebody could meet them. Maybe, like for me, for example, my father, just try to tie it. My father was very dismissive growing up. So then you get older, and then you find somebody you like, and that person may be dismissive, and then you're trying to fix that broken relationship that you had as a kid, but you're an adult with a different person. Like, you can't discover this stuff until you're really talking to a professional. So, coaching is definitely important. The red flags are cool, but how do you know what a red flag is if you don't know the deeper parts of yourself? So.
And it is possible for you to discover your own red flags. It is possible for you to do your own inner work. But guess what? It's going to be longer. It's going to be harder. You're going to bump your head a whole bunch of times. Because I think you can agree, DJ, a lot of our experiences, a lot of the advice that we give to our clients comes from a lot of our personal experiences where we bumped our heads. We got the scars to prove it. And we got the stories. I got 2,800 journals over here. From all the times that I bumped my head. And I got
a lot of stories too. I think I got my own Tinder swindler story, child. So not to that degree, but it's action packed and crazy. No money came out of it, but
We got our stories. But I think our saving grace too is because we have a heart to serve other people. We've also learned. We became coaches. We trained. We learned the clinical side of it as well. We're not therapists. We're not counselors, but we know a lot of the psychology that happens behind women and our decisions and how our past impacts our present that's keeping us from our future.
Absolutely.
And until you unpack what's happening in your present and understand how it relates to your past, you won't ever walk into the future that you truly deserve and desire. You're going to be stuck in this cycle of being manipulated, stuck in this cycle of believing that all men are dogs, stuck in this cycle of getting exhausted and frustrated with dating because you're meeting the right people, because you're getting emotionally attached with every person that says hello in your DMs. And we got to change that.
Absolutely.
We gotta change that. And we are changing that. one conversation at a time. And that's why I started this podcast, Orgasmic Relationships, because I truly believe that every woman is capable of having the type of orgasmic relationship that they desire, not just sexually, because we need orgasm sexually. Now, let's be real about that. Yes. But every area of your relationship should give you that orgasmic feeling. It doesn't mean your relationship is going to be perfect, but it does mean that you are in a relationship where you're both are committed and doing the work to bring pleasure, to bring fulfillment, to bring deep understanding and connection in every area of your life.
Absolutely.
And if we keep falling for the bullshit on Tinder, the bullshit on Facebook dating, the bullshit on whatever other dating app is out there, you're never going to get there. And we don't want that for you. I know that you don't want that for you, and I don't want that for you. So we're doing something different today.
Yes.
That's my empowerment speech for today, okay?
I love it.
So DJ, tell me, what is one thing you want our audience to take away from this whole conversation for us?
I think you hit it on the nail when you talked about, like, getting a coach, getting a therapist. If it's not you, because I'm not seeing anybody right now as far as coaching, but if it's not Sharika, find somebody else. Really, really talk to somebody, especially if you're somebody who is in toxic dating cycles, or even if you're not getting swindled to the degree of the woman that were on Tinder Swindler, but you end up dealing with guys who always have their hand out, or dealing with a guy who always needs something, find out why. Go ahead and try to investigate, peel back those layers, see what's going on. And then also pay attention to the red flags, because you probably are not. I know I wasn't at first. So, I mean, of course, pay attention to the red flags that you've heard today on the podcast, and maybe do some research. But talking to somebody is very important, and it's life-changing. So that's what I will leave the audience with today.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much, DJ. And I also want to talk about your dating app, because you have a dating app here too called Playing for Keeps. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I created a dating app after my last relationship, which was about, I want to say 4 years ago now. And that's a long story, so I won't get into it. But basically, after that relationship, I decided to take the leap as far as trying to discover why I chose the people that I chose, and why I ended up in these toxic dating cycles. Basically, the same situation, just a different face. And it got worse and worse and worse. So I took a break from dating and just kind of went into self-discovery mode, and learned about myself, and learned about some of the different things that I mentioned here on the podcast and other things. So my dating app, it has my own podcast in it, but it also, when two people match, they have to play a game first. And the games that I have, they're based on attachment theory, love language, sexual compatibility, and EQ, emotional intelligence, because that's very important too. Yes. So you play a quick game first before you can message the person, and then you'll get to see where you guys line up. I feel like that's important. I know a lot of people don't understand or know about attachment theory. They don't know too much in depth about emotional intelligence and how important that is while dealing with people. So my goal is to really push that out there and just spread that, all of those concepts out into the dating, so people can build better relationships. So that is what Playing for Keeps is about. And it's on, thank you. It's on both Google Play and Apple Store. I don't know why we want to call it the iPhone store. Apple Store.
It is iPhone.
Yeah. And you just type in Playing, the number 4, and then Keeps, and they'll pop up.
Great. Well, thank you so much. I love the concept. I think that is such a unique spin. And I think what it does is really forces both men and women to get clear about who they are and what they want before they start interacting with someone. So I absolutely love the concept, and I'm praying that this app really blows up for you. That's gonna revolutionize how we show up and how we date online. That's awesome.
Yeah, that's definitely the goal for the app. So I'm hoping so, and I appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you. And how can people follow you on social media?
So on Instagram, I am Plan for Keeps app. And I think that's my name on all of the social platforms on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. It's Plan for Keeps app. And if you want to get in touch with me, yeah, you can just message me on any of those platforms. I check all of my DMs. So that's how you can get in touch with me.
Fantastic. Fantastic. Thank you again, DJ. I really appreciate your time here today. I appreciate your insight in the conversation. Like, I really enjoyed our conversation today. So thank you so much.
You're welcome. It was a pleasure. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. You're welcome. And to my audience, I hope that this podcast, this episode was a blessing to you today, that you took something from today's conversation and can apply it to your life, or if not to your life, you could bless your friend, your daughter, your niece, or someone else. But this is information that everyone needs to know, whether you're online dating or dating in real life. And so until next time, always remember to be bold, brilliant, and completely unstoppable in the pursuit of what your heart desires in life and in your relationships. I'll talk to you soon.